Can leopard geckos be kept in groups? In this video, I'm going to be discussing the topic with Hank. Welcome to CGL Exotics. So one of the most often asked questions is whether leopard geckos can be kept in groups. I'm going to start today's video with a story of someone who called us up asking for 2 of our leopard geckos. We did the usual thing of going through their setup to make sure that everything was right for them. Then I realised that there was actually only one enclosure being mentioned, and they were asking for 2 leopard geckos. So I asked, what about the other enclosure? The person responded, oh, we've always kept them in groups. They've been absolutely fine. The last 2 have been with us for 7 years and have recently passed away. And this is the moment which really struck me. There was this person who was thinking that their leopard geckos were absolutely fine. They had lived for 7 years together and have recently passed away. Now, the average leopard gecko in captivity lives for about 15 years. They can live up to 28 years. And this person was thinking that 7 years was fantastic. So it was half the expected lifespan, and 2 of them had passed away. And this is one of the examples of why we say leopard geckos should not be kept in groups. Consider the wild. Leopard geckos do live in what we call loose colonies. These are lots of little colonies where there's lots of individuals. They all have their own home and they all do share a toilet corner. However, if they come to pass each other, they're not going to be very friendly with each other. The colony is there really for convenience. More eyes, more ways to see if a predator's coming, you can warn each other. But they don't really like to interact. They're not there to share food, they're competing for resources. And that's the point. When you keep leopard geckos together in captivity, there is the chance that you can have them there for absolute ages with no problems. Though what you will tend to find is that one of your leopard geckos will be heavier, fatter than the other. And that's because that one is out competing the other one for resources, namely food. But it might also be capturing the rest of the resources such as heat, water, humidity, space, hides, and the other leopard gecko could be completely outcompeted. And while that is happening, while the leopard gecko doesn't look like it's got any problems, its tail might be thinner and it might be under high levels of stress. That stress can dramatically reduce the life expectancy of your leopard gecko. In addition, the one that seems to be doing very well might also be stressed because it's having to constantly fight the other one or outcompete it for the resources. And this can go on for numerous years without any problems. But then one day, your 2 leopard geckos could have a fight that can't be resolved, and this can severely injure one of your leopard geckos or worse. So when it comes to keeping leopard geckos, the best thing is to always keep them separate. They each have their own individual enclosure. We recommend 3 foot as a minimum, 4 foot is really good. Each enclosure should have the 2 hides, a mist hide as well, with a food, water bowl and decorations as you see fit. Each one should be heated with a thermostat, and you can add UV light, though it's not essential. Remember, these guys are crepuscular. With that setup, you'll be absolutely fine. Now, if you want to keep multiple geckos, that's absolutely fine. There are several advantages to that. Number 1, if one leopard gecko is in shed, the other one is unlikely to be, and you can still carry on handling that one. Also, leopard geckos only take about 5 or 10 minutes, and if you really love your geckos and that is a hobby that you really like to spend a lot of time doing, then having 2 or 3 leopard geckos can mean that you're spending more time doing something that you love. You know, leopard geckos can really only be handled for about 10 to 15 minutes at a time. So by having 3 leopard geckos, you can have a good hour session of handling, cleaning and maintaining them, a really good hobby. The thing is though, is that you don't have to have a huge amount of space to keep those. Vivs, such as the 3 foot and 4 foot, can come in stacks, and this saves space and creates a nice little feature in your room. It's a bit like having a bookcase. There are people who go into pet shops and will see the pet shop have 4 or 5 individuals in a single enclosure. And they might ask, well, why can the pet shops do it and we can't? Well, for one thing, the pet shops tend to have them in there for a very short period of time. This is their justification, is that they come in and they're sold quite quickly. You will notice that in our store, we don't actually keep leopard geckos together. They've all got their own individual home. Because even for that short period, whether it's a week, 2 weeks or a month, they're still out competing with each other. They're still competing for those same resources of food, heat, hide, even the cool end. They're competing for that to cool down. And that can cause stress. So when you've got your leopard gecko, it can be very stressed out. And that means that it's not going to be at its best health. The move itself is enough of a change that you don't want to add any additional elements to it. The other advantage of having multiple enclosures for multiple leopard geckos, remember one in each enclosure, is that you can have different morphs. Hank here is a temper albino, but you could easily get a max now eclipse or a super hypo, and you can have 3 different colours or morphs of leopard geckos in each enclosure. So you could have, say, a Hank at the bottom with your temper albino, your next one you could have your max now, the next one you could have your super hypo, or an eclipse, or a ghost, or something like that. And you've got different ones, which creates very interesting, you've got a different experience with each one. And leopard geckos are all different as well. They all have different personalities. So you might have one that really loves cuddles at the bottom, but one that really likes to have its locus and enjoys the feeding time with you. And those different experiences can make keeping multiple individuals really fun. Also, I wouldn't say that keeping multiple is that much of an expense. Remember, these guys only cost about 14p per day to actually look after, including the heating and feeding. And if you buy in bulk, then you can actually save money on the insects. Now, if you are really set on having a colony of geckos inside one enclosure, there are a few options out there. So, for instance, you can have the barking gecko, you can have viper geckos, and you can have African fat-tail geckos. Now, African fat-tail geckos are very similar to leopard geckos. They require a little bit more humidity, but they are known to be more communal based than the leopard gecko. But their visual is actually much the same. There are different morphs and different kind of patterns to them, but they are very, very similar in terms of their body structure, and they are just as good at handling. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please let us know in the comments below if you've got a communal set of geckos, such as vipers or barking geckos. And please remember to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.